It's 2 o'clock, so we're going to call today's meeting of the Rules and Open Government Committee to order. Let's start with roll, please.
Candelas.
Here.
Duan.
Here.
Foley. Kamei. Here. Cohen. Here. We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. We have one agenda to review today. It's for our meeting on Tuesday, May 20th, scheduled to have a 9:30 closed session, an 11 o'clock a.m. early start for regular session with an afternoon study session at 3 o'clock on San Jose wildfire planning. Consent starts on page 5 and continues on pages 6, 7, 8, 9, and ends on page 10. In section 3, we have City Council policy for seamless transition of elected offices, the community-led solutions to domestic violence, but that will be moved to section 4, as shown on the draft agenda. Section 5, we have bids and contracts for a major street resurfacing. In section 8, we have an amendment to Muni Code for an entertainment zone related to sporting events in 2026. We also have 2 items on land use consent to be heard immediately after regular consent, and 1 land use item which will also be heard immediately after consent. Do you have any public comment?
No public comment.
All right, back to the committee, and I see Vice Mayor Foley's hand is up.
Thank you. I have a couple questions about the agenda, actually. On item number 5.1, which is a report on bids and contracts, is there any reason why we cannot move that to consent? This seems like something we approve on a regular basis, and it's under, oh, it's 8.9 million. That's why.
Yeah, it is over the threshold.
Okay.
I know our city manager, we're trying to think through right now and possibly issue a manager's budget addendum where we do look at some of these thresholds.
Okay.
Specific to the manager as well as the city attorney, and possibly bring new thresholds forward so some of this can go on consent, or the city attorney has more flexibility in settlement.
Frankly, when I suggested
You
this,
saw the number 897.
I saw the
second line.
897, and I thought, why is that here? But now I see it's 8.9.
Yes, so we currently have a practice of if it is 5 million and over, it's on the regular agenda. But there are definitely issues like this, or as well as some of our energy purchasing,
Yes.
which is going to be well over this, but is somewhat routine in nature, absolutely.
Okay.
Good. Alternatively, perhaps there's a procedure by which we could pre-approve the concept of certain spending for roads if we know that there's regular contracts, and then those can get put on consent when the contracts come through. Just something to think about.
Okay, just
Absolutely.
something to think about in the future. The other question I had is on the land use item 10.2, which is the super graphic sign ordinance. Our agenda appears like it might move fairly quickly. Why is this scheduled not to be heard before 1:30 if council's starting at 11?
I believe that's when it was noticed, and because it's a land use item, we needed to keep it there. It was noticed before we decided to do an 11 a.m. start time.
Okay, all right. Given that, then I will move the approval of the agenda.
Second.
Well, I do have a question on that. Thank you for the motion in a second. It's interesting. It says immediately after consent, but not before 1:30. We ought to maybe change the language, because if we do, we probably want to cover items 3.3 and 4.1 if we still have time before lunch, because otherwise we're just coming in doing consent and then having to take a break till 1:30. The word immediately after consent is maybe a little.
I thought there's a number of ceremonials as well, so we were thinking you'd get through most of the agenda other than this, come back at 1:30, because you guys are trying to take an hour-and-a-half break, do ceremonials.
Ceremonials
consent,
are 1:30 though,
and
right?
that's-
So
Ceremonials typically are at 1:30.
Correct.
I'm just thinking that we might be able to get through, well, maybe because maybe the language that says immediately after consent but not before allows us some flexibility to move some other items forward. I just feel like we
yes.
ought to be able to move some items.
I would think that we would be able to move through the agenda, but if we need to say that, then I would include that in the motion, that we proceed with the agenda and delay action on 10.2 to after 1:30. Does that help?
To be heard first
Clarify it,
after
to be
1:30
clear.
maybe is the language.
So in other words, yeah, I'm like you. I don't want to approve consent,
And then just take-
both, and then leave for 2 hours, 3 hours,
Yeah.
because we're starting early.
Yeah.
And we're starting early to get through the agenda. Okay, good enough, thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, now that that's clarified, we will move to a vote. And that motion carries 5-0. And we're on to, we have no agenda for May 27th, so we're on to our consent calendar for today's meeting. There are 3 items on today's consent calendar. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, Blair, please go ahead and make your way to the podium.
Hi, thank you, Blair Beekman. On your public record, I thought it was a really interesting public record today. There's a lot of interesting items on there, including 18 people who are asking for a return to teleconferencing and Zoom for the public meeting process. I think a real big deal was made, like for issues like, say, of defund the police a few years ago. Remember how we really wanted to practice that, but it became taboo to say those words in public because it was somehow uncool, and city officials had a more cool way to talk about it than community, so we had to kind of stop saying police defund. And for all the important work that we want to keep people from not using this forum to use explicatives and hate speech, that is important, and that you're really good at cutting people off like that. Thank you in how you used to practice that. Better than any other city, I think. But from that, there is just to me a hidden sense that you guys have this secret code between yourselves that somehow by not having Zoom meetings that we're somehow getting even with the whole COVID-19 era, and that we're above returning to that era. And I understand that point of view and feeling, but I think we really have to consider how much teleconferencing helps the community in a number of ways, and it helps the democratic process, it helps communication. Good luck that we can work on it and work on healing the problems with it, and the people who come in with hate speech. I think there is a way to heal their pain and their anger that we can offer. So good luck how we can do that. With public safety issues, I'll talk at public comment time, open forum. Thank you.
Back to the committee.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion on consent?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Foley, second from Kamei. All right, motion carries 5-0. And now we're on to our item C1, the pay for performance. Normally I would ask one of the authors to introduce it, but I think we are all aware of what this is about. But if you'd like to say something first, Councilmember, Vice Mayor?
I would, but
Okay.
only.
Or do you want to wait till after public comment? It's up to you.
No, I'll say it now. Well, when do you want me to say it?
Go ahead.
I don't want to debate this issue again, because this really is just about bringing this issue to the full council so the full council can vote on it. We had a long discussion today at our study session, and we had a long discussion on Monday, and the city council approved moving in this direction as a charter amendment. I was concerned about the charter amendment. It's coming back. I'm obviously a co-author of the memo, so I'm supportive of the memo. It's coming back, pay for performance in a different way that I find much more acceptable and easier to understand and follow, but that is to be debated and approved or not by the full city council. I think that's the direction of the memo, is to bring it to city council along with the budget item in June 10th, I think it is. And I'll just wait to move till the public comment, or I'll move it now. So move, and I'll move my memo.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Go to public comment first.
Blair?
Hi, Blair Beekman. Thank you for this item. You guys are in important budget time right now. So this is important work. San Diego, I mean, they're in a pretty serious hole budget-wise with their budget issues, worse than San Jose. They're kind of on par with Oakland in terms of budget woes. And you guys tried to work the concepts of a balanced budget. Really great that you did, because you're not hurting as much now, and so good for you. In this, what we're trying to do with accountability, I know to Deb Davis, former councilperson Deb Davis, who was really good with wanting to work on good accountability, and former Mayor Liccardo as well. In what we're trying to do with accountability now, what Mayor Mahan is trying to better develop with this item, thank you. I wish San Diego would be following at this budget time. If their people would be willing to take a 5% cut, you've developed a system how to create a 5% cut. Whereas we were talking in San Diego, just a straight 5% cut would help lead to an important direction how to address budget issues that can still respect equity and library closures, so we don't have to close libraries and things like that. It was an important development how we can keep libraries open. I think we should work to do that. From that, to conclude, in this work of good accountability by the mayor, I hope, as I said when I first returned here a few weeks ago, that you guys are working on your own versions of what the future of tech accountability can be about, and its importance. It's not just public safety. It's a holistic approach with tech accountability involved that can really, that's our sustainable future. Thank you.
Back to the committee.
All right, thank you. We have a few hands up, so we'll start with Councilmember Dewan.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. I didn't get a chance to read your memo today, Vice Mayor, but what I'm hearing from you, this is going to be cross-referenced to the whole council. So I'm good with it. So that's all. Just wanted.
All right, Councilmember Kamei.
Thank you. It wasn't clear to me as to when this would be coming back, and to me, it would be helpful to think about all of the different items that were discussed earlier during our study session, including any legal risks on how do you get to whatever outcomes or goals or what have you. And so I was wondering, is this something that could come to us on the first meeting in June?
If I may, per the memo, this is to come in along with the other budget items, which is June 10th. As the original, if you'll recall, we approved the charter amendment. This really replaces the charter amendment on pay-per-performance. It'll be voted on when we vote on the budget, but as a completely separate item. So it's June 10th that is coming back per the memo.
Right. I know that, but I wanted to ask about whether or not it would be possible if it could be earlier.
I think that would be difficult. With Sunshine, that would mean we're probably producing some type of formal recommendation as well as the other direction by next week. And so given kind of where senior staff is in the attorney's office with, with the budget process, I think that might be difficult to meet for the what is that,
fine.
June
I'm just asking
3rd,
yeah, I'm just asking the question, that's all.
Certainly, I
recognize.
would say if we explore this further and there's, to your point, any legal risk, we could obviously go into closed session possibly the first week, but I'm not aware of any legal risk at this time.
So one of the things that I think that would be helpful and important, this is something that I think we should consider. We had differing opinions earlier today, and I think we ought to think about the risk of incentivizing lower ambition goal setting, which it may or may not be a problem or not, disproportionate impact on council members, and the pressure to conform due to our different representative areas, and You know, I think that we're avoiding the charter amendment, but having a legal analysis, I think, will help us on when we make the decision on the 10th. So I would like to at least put that out there so that it's part of our full information when we're considering this. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Foley.
Yeah, just a clarification that this is not, as the members of the public might be misunderstanding, this is not a 5% pay cut. This is 5% being withheld until it's determined whether goals are met, and then the rubric, which a city manager will bring forward, will be proportionate how we actually pay that to ourselves. So these are all discussions that we should have and continue to have with the full city council and the full city council weighing in on this issue.
Thank you. I'm not going to repeat anything I've said before about the issue. I don't think there's any point today. This is coming to council. And by the way, whether we approve this memo or not, it's coming in on June 10th because that's what the council asked for before. So
Well, it's coming as a charter amendment.
Well,
It's different. This memo isn't coming.
Exactly. Although somebody could write a memo for June 10th that proposes a different alternative. I'm not suggesting that I'm not recommending any that it be come back differently. But what I'm concerned about, the other concern I have though that's not related to the policy question, which I very strongly explained my views, is just the density of how much we're going to be doing on June 10th. I'm just going to point this out. We're going to have our hearing on the budget, which can take a long time. We're going to have responsibility shelter, which we know brings out potentially hours of public comment and then a long discussion and a debate on the council. And then another weighty question that for the council, and I just want to make sure that we're all prepared to give it the due it deserves and not feel like, oh, we better approve this quickly so we can get home tonight. So I'm very concerned about all of these coming back on June 10th, separate from the question of the issue itself. But that's something that we'll figure out at the time, whether we need to defer it then because of the hour or whatever. I just want us to be thoughtful and not shortchange a discussion on an important policy issue on June 10th because of the length of that agenda. We have always been very good as a committee, at least in the last couple of years, certainly under my predecessor, Chappie Jones, and recently of making sure we balance our load and don't overextend single meetings. And I remember meetings in my first year that got carried over to the next morning. Nobody's in a good mood when that happens. I don't want this to end up getting rushed because of that. So just want to throw that out there before we move on to a vote on this. Just to be clear, I'll be voting no just out of principle on it, but I understand that it makes sense for this committee to move it forward to the full council. Go ahead, Councilmember Kamei.
Yeah, I guess to your point, that's one of the reasons why I asked. I know that it was coming on the 10th, but I asked, whether or not it could be, and apparently the workload is too much to even bring it earlier. So that's why I asked, because I know that it's
obviously
going to
it
be.
could go later. It could move back a week. That's another option, but that's something we can think about as we move forward as a committee. I'm not recommending we make that decision call today, just that we're aware of that. I saw you reaching for it. Did you want to comment on that?
No, I was just, I've been on this council a long time, and we have a policy that we can go until midnight. Do I want to go until midnight? Absolutely not. I've stated before I turn into a pumpkin after 10, actually 9:30. But we have had lots of meetings that go until then and typically the budget time is when we are running longer because it is so critical that we get a budget adopted by the end of June. And I will note that we don't have a meeting for June 18th, or the 17th, which is interesting, or the budget's adopted on the 10th, and there's not much left over than that on the following year. So there is, but the 24th. So there's maybe some time, I don't know, but I think that's not for us to decide right now. We, as the Rules Committee, decide how the agenda goes further down the line, and we can make that decision later. But there's reasons that we want to include the discussion along with the budget item too, because it has budgetary impacts. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yep. Okay. Seeing no more hands, let's move to a vote on this one. All right, that motion carries 3-2. Now we're on to open forum.
Blair, please go ahead and make your way to the podium, and followed by James.
Hi, Blair Beekman. To quickly add, possibly a 2 to 3% straight cut to salaries of elected officials. That possibly would take out competition and stress over how you're talking about the previous item. I was also thinking that from my public comment that as much as we talked about we didn't want to use the words defund the police back in 2021. Joe Biden did. He continued to talk about it, and he made it okay to talk about it. Police deaths, police killings of U.S. persons is on the rise continuously. I think you guys know these statistics since 2020. We have not solved that issue. It's growing worse because you guys didn't want to talk about the word defund. You didn't want to say that openly and publicly. You made it a really specific point in the past. And that sort of snobbery created problems, I think. Congratulations on what you are accomplishing at this time. We got to keep working. Good luck how we can. I wanted to comment, of course, I mentioned tech accountability. Good luck how we can be working and addressing your own good ideas and vision of what a future of tech accountability can be, and the importance of public safety, developing practices, important practices, creative practices. Good luck on those efforts. With my remaining time, I tuned into the council meeting yesterday on flea market issues, and wow, it's a lot. I learned, a more educated class in San Jose tries to talk about how there can be, the people can work for the future of the flea market to be theirs and to really help develop a really important vision for the future of that area. People who actually work there, they don't do that as much. I hope we can.
James?
So first, I want to bring up the fact that consistently I've seen the same things be talked about at city council meetings, the same comments, the same, basically the same discussions have been happening over the past, at least, I want to say the past year or two. I think that something really needs to be changed because there's a huge issue. I've been going through nonsense, pointless phone calls, trying to get like the resources that we need, and now the people in the encampments have been placed in a place where they're violating their personal privacy and walking in on them, and I just want to also, I don't think you should invest any more money into, I hate to say it, but homelessness right now, it's like the money's not going to where it should be. I've been constantly lied to by Matt Mahan. The media is painting a picture that is it's really sad to me, because I leave the town hall, the meeting the other night, and I was very disappointed because my questions were not answered. The security question of what does security mean to you, and what does that look like, even homeless people deserve the security of having their rights like everyone who is housed. The unhoused and the housed should have the same equal protections, and it's a complicated situation, but something else needs to be done to protect people's rights and to give them the shelter that they actually need, because some people aren't getting what they need. And I guarantee you that there is solution.
Thank you, James. Your time's up. Back to the committee.
Okay, thank you to members of the public, and thanks to the members of the committee. We are adjourned at 2:24 p.m.